is so important, no matter how it comes out. And let it be the ocean waves coming out messy. Start messy, one step at a time.
Well, thank you for being so vulnerable about that. And I'm sure a listener who's tuning in to this would be sitting here thinking, Katie has got all of this. She's an actress. She knows Jennifer Aniston. She knows Nicolas Cage. She doesn't have bad days. And I think what people fail to realize is we all have bad days. And what did you learn within yourself that allowed you to become this authentic self that you are, which is why I really wanted you on the podcast, is because you are authentic. I don't think it should be cartoon Katie. I think it should be authentic Katie, because that's what you represent. But I'm sure it didn't become that overnight.
And thank you so much. And I'll take note of that, authentic Katie, for branding. Thank you. I'll take note of that one. And it honestly, it's a journey, and I'm still growing through it. It's a transition, and it's a continuum. And that's the beautiful thing about life. You have these ahas, and then you're kind of calculating, and it's a daily practice to show up. It's how we respond to what happens. So, for example, a lot of people, they don't want that scary, bad thing to happen, or that breakup, or to be alone, or that thing, because of how tormenting or how a tornado was. But we're not going to react to it how we once were, because we've evolved and grown so much. We're not going to react to it in the same way. So although it may be a scary place to go to, we don't have to react how we once did. And in our minds, we think we're going to do that's the fear, but we're actually going to have God's grace and the tools that we've learned from listening to podcasts and people like Abraham Hicks and Myss and Dr. Joe Dispenza and Gabor Mate, who demystifies, trauma and how we're all traumatized, And so with the day of the information and actually knowing the knowledge and then hacking and applying it, we're not alone. We don't have to grieve alone. We don't have to do the hard days alone. We were taught to isolate, to go to your room and cry, and to stuff your head in a pillow and cry and be alone. But my girlfriend was just telling me about this book recently, and we're very primal beings. And a lot of the pack, when they get together, they reach homeostasis, and all the negative ions and all those tormenting things aren't there anymore, because they're a pack and they heal together. Congregations, going to communities and churches, they come together to grieve when someone passes. When people come together, you come together as a collective. So we don't have to isolate and be alone. And when we communicate those short-term beliefs and those things, we can, get through those things together instead of growing through those things alone. We may need time to be alone, and that's okay. And do that. But then also, don't go off the cliff, like come back, and there's no going back. Actually, go forward and find new ground with new people, even if it's just one. It doesn't have to be with everyone you already knew and what you already always known. Like, that's the cool thing about showing up with the white canvas. And I highly suggest Mastery of Love by Miguel Ruiz. And we're very primal beings, and then we're domesticated. And so breaking out of our own prisons and getting in spirit inspired, shape shifting the energy, one step at a time, one breath at a time. And it's so important. People don't understand, and it's woo woo, but what we breathe in and what we breathe out, and just be aware of the breath of when it comes out. Like when I'm in a trauma triggered state or anxiety or frantic or whatever, the breath will be choppy like an ocean wave. So just Wim Hof, HOF, is great. He has a 10-minute thing just to get really deep within the body. It moves the energy around, and it really allows us to get into our body, because we have these 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day, according to Dr. Joe Dispenza. And it's like a cross-country running track. We're just going around in circle. So you have to get past those neurotransmitters and those concrete thoughts that we have. And to break into those is shape-shifting your attention. We can only focus on one thing at a time. What are we focusing on? People, if they're stuck, they're focusing on what they don't want, and they're magnifying more of what they don't want. So it's like, what do I want? Toes in the sand, toes in the sand. Journal, toes in the sand. Journal what you do want. Journal what you don't want, but journal what you do want.